Sheila Ekman, and I'll be our service leader today. We are a lay-led community, strengthened and enriched by weaving together the volunteer contributions of members and friends. Our fellowship is committed to individual freedom of belief, welcomes diversity, seeks to promote a sense of community, and fosters religion which enriches the spirit. Whoever you are, whomever you love, however you arrived here, you are welcome.
You can
Human
hear me.
connection and relationship are important parts of our community, even in this time of physical distancing. Please feel free to remain online after the service for discussion, and Reverend Carla Prine will join us for that discussion. As you all know, this is Thanksgiving week, and we keep in our thoughts all who are not able to gather with family and friends, as is our tradition. We also keep in our thoughts those in the larger world who are struggling with the effects of the COVID pandemic. We acknowledge that we live on the traditional lands of the Puyallup people. Native people have lived on Vashon Maury Island for thousands of years. Before Euro-Americans arrived, there were approximately 650 Native people living on Vashon Maury Island who identified themselves as the Snohomish in the Chinook jargon trade language. The estimated 650 Native people on Vashon lived in 5 major permanent village sites and used numerous temporary gathering sites. The permanent villages were located at Burton, Shawnee, Quartermaster, Manzanita, and Tahlequah. The smaller temporary gathering sites were located at Assembly Point, Jensen Point, Kingsbury Beach, Newport, Burton Inner Harbor, Judd Creek, Ellisport, and Peter Point. Today, Vashon Maury Island is home to the descendants of the original Native people. The island is considered one of the traditional homes of the Puyallup people. The island is also home to a number of Native people from other groups in other parts of the United States and Canada. It is also home to aquacultural grounds on the northeast side of the island owned by the Muckleshoot tribe from the Auburn, Kent area of South King County. The Native people of Vashon Maury Island are still an important part of our community. They are not all the same Native people who lived here when the Euro-Americans first came, but they are Native people who call Vashon Maury Island home. Now Alex Clark will lead us in our light our chalice and lead us in a short meditation. And then Reverend Carla Prine will provide some readings.
We gather in this time of uncertainty, full of unknowns, as angst continues and closes in upon us. We light this chalice with a flame that draws us together. With this flame, we cut through the darkness of isolation, and we are warmed by the fires of our own interconnection. For this moment, this radical moment, we find a certainty within the knowable bonds of love and community. That is by Amy Williams Clark. This meditation is by Nancy Reed McKee. Sit and rest for a minute. Take several deep breaths in and out, calling your attention to this space. Attention. Pay attention. Pay attention to where you are right now. I mean, where you are. Where you are and where you are. You are here in this community, in this virtual sanctuary, in this state, in this country, on this beautiful blue planet, whirling through the tailspin of a galaxy. You are unique. You are made of cells and hormones. You are a mix of thoughts, emotions, values. You are the inheritors of your parents and ancestors' dreaming. You are part of the human inhabitants on this earth. You are. You exist. You are breathing. You are still. You are connected. You are present. You have a holy spark inside you. You are here now. You are paying attention. Blessed be.
Morning. Two readings I have to offer. The first by the Jewish American poet and writer Mark Nepo from a poem called Accepting This. My efforts now turn from trying to outrun suffering to accepting love wherever I can find it. Stripped of causes and plans and things to strive for, I have discovered everything I could need or ask for is right here in flawed abundance. We cannot eliminate hunger, but we can feed each other. We cannot eliminate loneliness, but we can hold each other. We cannot eliminate pain, but we can live a life of compassion. Ultimately, we are living, small living things awakened in the stream, not gods who carve out rivers. Like human fish, we are asked to experience meaning in the life that moves through the gills of our heart. There is nothing to do and nowhere to go. Accepting this, we can do everything and we can go anywhere. Second reading from the Welsh American poet and Northwesterner, David White, entitled Winter Apple. We see a lot of those these days, don't we? Winter apple. Let the apple ripen on the branch beyond your need to take it down. Let the coolness of autumn and the breathing, blowing wind test its adherence to endurance. Let the others fall. Wait longer than you would. Go against yourself. Find the pale nobility of quiet that ripening demands. Watch with patience as the silhouette emerges and the leaves fall. See the apple become a solitary roundness against a graying sky. Let winter come and the first frost threaten. And then wake one morning to see the breath of winter has haloed its redness with light, so that a full 2 months after you should have taken the apple down, you hold it in your closed hand at last, and you bite into the cool sweetness spread evenly through every single atom of a pale and yielding structure, so that you taste on that cold gray day not only the after reward of patience remembered, not only the summer sunlight of a postponed perfection, but the sweet inward stillness of the wait itself.
Thank you, Carla. Now it's time for joys and concerns. As a caring community, we set aside time to share the joys and concerns of our lives by lighting virtual candles and speaking briefly from the heart. This is a time to honor the common humanity and sacred spirit within each of us. If you have a joy you'd like to share or a burden that might be eased by sharing it in community, you are invited to share it. Let's take a moment in silence to prepare our hearts. Please raise your hand and Lauren will call on you for sharing. You can either do that on the screen or virtually down below. You can also share in the chat. We're going to turn the chat back on right now. And if you'd like to share in the chat, you're welcome to do so.
And also, I'm like to point out that first I'm going to turn the recording off now, so for privacy. And also, depending on which version of Zoom you're using and your computer you're using, you may, when you go to unmute yourself, you may, you may see a permission button for me to ask you permission to unmute yourself. So watch for that. Back to you, Sheila.
Okay. Well, today we welcome back to our fellowship Reverend Carla Prine. I think many of you know her, so she doesn't need a long introduction. But as you know, she's an Episcopal, retired Episcopal priest living on Maury Island with her husband Eric, who's here with us today, and their cattle dog corgi mix Max. I don't know if Max is with us today. She's been the rector of the Islands Church of the Holy Spirit and has done most of her work in Seattle over the years. And in retirement, she's volunteering with the Vashon Maury Island Heritage Museum and the community care team of Vashon Be Prepared, which has done a wonderful job. So thank you for that, Carla. She finds joy in riding horses and raising honeybees. So welcome, Carla.
Hey, everybody, give me a wave. Hi, everybody. Okay, give each other a kiss. Okay, let's see your kisses. And let's clap. Grateful that we're all here today. Nice to see your faces and the beauty this morning of your faces, of the music, of the images we just saw. So hello, back after what feels like a decade or more since I last saw you all, back when before March we were as islanders dancing in the streets, sometimes with total strangers who are our neighbors, dancing in the streets with Strawberry Festival and Halloween and all of that. But hey, I'm just really glad to be with you here today via Zoom. And I got to see Lauren's cat's tail. And if I had been, at the building, I wouldn't have gotten to see Lauren's cat's tail. So there you go. Well, what a time. How you all doing? That's a big question these days, isn't it? How you doing? That's a big question. Well, how am I doing? Here's a story. About 5 days after the election, I was sitting in my Subaru in the Courthouse Square parking lot right after my PT appointment. I was sitting there with the heat on, listening to NPR and scrolling through the emails on my phone. All of a sudden, the car radio went dead. There was a silence. Felt like a really long silence. No sound. I froze, imagining that the next sound I would hear would be a serious voice saying, "We interrupt this program for a special announcement." Announcement of what? A mass shooting? A bomb going off somewhere? An assassination? In that elongated second of silence, I imagined many possible things, and they were all dreadful and scary. But then after what seemed forever, I heard a voice piping clearly through the car audio. "Hi, honey." Well, it was my husband, Eric, who was calling me on the car phone, and the interruption was the radio going off and the car phone, the iPhone coming on. It was just the electronics shifting from the radio to the iPhone. Nothing awful. Just, "Hi, honey." That's how I am. Remember Star Trek's Red Alert? Raise your hand. How many remember Red Alert? All righty. When the Kardashians, or God forbid, the Borg were approaching the ship, the Red Alert light would go on, and then the beep, beep, beep. So when there was a momentary silence on NPR, my mind went immediately on Red Alert. But in fact, of course, I have been on Red Alert for what seems like a long time. It was suggested by your leadership team that the theme for today was healing. So I resonated with that immediately. There has been, for everyone I know, a psychic toll over the last few years, as if day after day of living on red alert, or at least yellow alert, for so many days and so many months has taken something from us. The writer Rebecca Solnit, in a recent podcast for Orion magazine, asked this, quote, "Can we lay down some of our vigilance? Can we lay down some of our vigilance?" I think there is a longing for that, and for much more than a laying down of fearful, vigilant red alertness, rather a longing arising for healing, deep, deep healing. I've noticed that for months now, but especially leading up to and since the election, the word healing has been surfacing over and over in our public discourse. Catching my eyes were these recent headlines from just the last 3 weeks. Quote, "Healing our broken nation." And another, "Healing the culture." And another, "Healing, the power to create in a time of division." And another, "What it really means to heal." And another, "Voting is my healing." And my favorite, "Can sports heal the country?" So what are we saying to each other? For what healing are we longing? What is bubbling up? Well, I was asked about 10 days ago to come up with a title for this today, and I had no idea what I wanted to do, but I had to come up with a title to send to Sheila. And the word that kept surfacing for me was fermentation. Fermentation. In part because a few days ago, I heard an interview with the writer and food activist Sandor Kotz. I'd not heard of him. Kotz has been advocating for years about, quote, the radical act of being directly involved in the production of food and the joy of living in relationship with the living world. Thank you, Amy, for reminding of that today. Something I know many islanders are deeply into. There are not too many perfectly manicured fingernails.
So Carla will be right back. She has a backup phone set up.
Lauren, can you hear me?
Yes, there
Can
she
you
is.
hear me? Okay.
There
I knew
she
this would
is.
happen. Maury Island. Okay, I'm on a phone now, so I'll do my best to look at the camera. So I was talking about fermentation, and this guy is Mr. Kotz, phenomenal. For him, his principal engagement with the world has been with microbial communities. And in the interview, his voice exuded enthusiasm about the magic of the inevitable, invisible forces that shape our foods and our lives. And a lot of islanders know this. I'm a recent beekeeper, so I could be very excited talking about this. But his most recent book is called Fermentation as a Metaphor. And he writes not only about the physical processes of fermentation, but fermentation as a metaphor for societal change. He's part of a long tradition of using the process of fermenting in a metaphorical sense. So we read of artistic fermentation, political fermentation, spiritual fermentation. And the word fermentation, like many good words, comes from the Latin fervere, which means to boil. So it's all about bubbles. When the fermentation is in full swing, things get bubbly, they get excitable. And so I thought this is a great metaphor for healing. What is bubbling up in our culture now that is for healing? What is moving? Where are the bubbles big? Where are they little? Where are they spread out? And where are they in the middle? And in what ways are healing in our world part of the bubbles dancing to the surface of our psyche and our longings? Lately, when I connect to family and friends, what I'm noticing is that many of us don't quite feel like we have our feet under us yet. There may be provisional relief. I heard that expression lately, provisional relief. But there's also a deep fatigue given COVID and politics and so much more. And part of our fatigue, I think, is a need for healing. Healing so that we can feel better. Healing so we can stop worrying about our children and grandchildren. Healing so we can stop feeling so on hold. And healing to make maybe the world more whole, what the Jewish tradition calls tikkun ulan, mending the world. And so this moment to which our chime and our prayers and concerns and our meditation have led us, what is available to you? What does healing look like to you? Many of you know, I would guess, know the great quip from way back in '69 from E.B. White. I arise in the morning torn between a desire to improve the world and a desire to enjoy the world. This makes it hard to plan the day. Sometimes it is healing and energizing to improve the world, to act, to produce, to generate, make things happen. And sometimes it is healing to savor, to stop, to rest, to receive, to pay attention, to look at the winter apple. Thank you all for sending in your healing thoughts, and I will be referring to them starting now. For most of us, over the years and the different seasons of life, it is usually a combination of both. Improving the world and savoring the world. As one of you wrote, what is healing like for me? It is the yin yang symbol of balance and interaction. That is healing for you. We spend our life trying to pay attention to what calls us now and to be faithful to our capacity. When I was thinking about contemplation and stillness part of it, I was drawn by that David White poem, The Winter Apple. Let the apple ripen on the branch beyond our need to take it down. Such a powerful line. For some of you, it is time. It is past time for a giant pause. What would that be the healing for you? And one of you wrote, what does healing look like? What I do for others is enough. I need to use more of my time for my family and myself. And another of you wrote, what healing is? Simply when people speak to one another, they are calm and thoughtful, and they listen to one another. Maybe healing is just listening, and when speaking, to be calm and thoughtful. And sometimes it is time for action, and that's what healing looks like. Bill Dietrich, formerly of the Seattle Times and a prolific writer, speaking of the election 2 days after it, wrote, I'm glad that it's close. It forces us to work together and to listen more closely to each other. Indeed, there is work to be done in this country. And for many people I know, healing for them looks like finding ways to be active in organizations, active in efforts focused on everything from voter suppression to creating one-on-one opportunities for conversations between individuals from different political persuasions. For some, it is a renewal of energy to be healing for the planet. One of you wrote, healing? It's a seriousness about healing US racism. For another of you, what's healing? Healing is when children are raised to live their lives with respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. So today, what's bubbling up in you? Can you hear the bubbles? Can you see the bubbles? It is palpable. There's a deep longing for healing, healing of connection with all our relations, far and near, healing institutions, healing the earth, healing our hearts. And I would say that whatever our healing work looks like, both the prophet and the mystic, the yin and the yang in us, what is required, I think, is bravery. That's the word that came to me, bravery. Bravery to join in the river of healing that the Hebrew Bible says flows through the city of God, is the river of healing, an ancient image from our ancestors. Wherever you are, I make this suggestion that you laugh. Laughter. So let's just try it. I won't be able to hear you, but I'm going to laugh, and I want the rest of you to laugh out loud. Okay? Hear yourself laugh. Keep going. See what that feels like. There you go, Bob. See what that feels like in your body. There you go. Laughter bubbling up is a very powerful medicine, and it's a great RX. There's no limit on refills, and the only side effect is a smile. Go play. Vicki and Ann going into the woods to play. There you go. What can be more healing than laughter and silliness and zaniness? When was the last time, if you live with someone, when was the last time you had a pillow fight? Huh? There you go. And if you can still jump on a trampoline and yell out loud, or watch someone do it, or pretend you are doing it, that's almost as good. For a good laugh, try yelling at the squirrels on your bird feeder. Ha, ha, ha. Well, this week when I was back at Courthouse Square, this time to the dentist, I was loaded up on nitrous. And I asked myself the question, what would be healing for me? And you know what I came up with? A weekend with thing 1 and thing 2. Remember thing 1 and thing 2 from Dr. Seuss? A weekend with thing 1 and thing 2 would be healing for me. So I know there are a lot of therapists in this congregation, so you can let me know what that says about my deep psyche. And speaking of bravery and speaking of laughter, I know your folk to be a community with plenty of both. A friend of mine said recently of 2020, this year, we will never be the same. And would we want to? How could we? In this new world, we need each other, we need community. And that is what you have in this Unitarian Fellowship. You give it to each other, a lot of love and encouragement, of bravery, and it is what you give the wider community. So in closing, here more the last few emails. To me, what healing looks like. To be in maskless connection with friends and community. I miss community, where I receive and give so much energy. What does healing look like? Healing is when decisions are made in a spirit of mutual benefit and cooperation rather than competition. What is healing? Another one of you said, healing happens when we practice and live our you values on a consistent daily basis. And another, healing is compassion, moving forward together in caps. And finally, one of you wrote, healing, peace in the world, and peace in myself. So here, and amen to all of that.
Thank you so much, Carla. And thank you to all who contributed their healing thoughts. And maybe we can continue to think about that through the week, about what healing looks like for us and make it happen. So for our offering this week, we engage beyond our walls. Our love calls us to act for peace, social and economic justice, freedom of belief, and protection of the planet and its inhabitants. As individuals and as a fellowship, we engage in worthy local and global causes. We stay informed on issues of our time. Though each step may seem small, we persevere with spirits renewed by involvement. By our actions, we hope to inspire others to join us in our work. One Sunday a month, we use 100% of our collection for a nonprofit of our choice. This is one of those Sundays. Our collection today will go to the Vashon Maury Island Community Food Bank. Especially in this time, I am grateful to live in a community where we can feed our souls with the beautiful natural environment. I'm also grateful that our community strives to care for those of us who need some extra help. I encourage you to take some time with me now to celebrate the people and the places of Vashon Maury Island while getting to support our food bank.
worship this ground we walk on, cherishing the beings that we live beside. Loving spirits will live forever. We're all swimming to the other side. I am alone, I am searching, hungering for answers in my time. I am balanced at the brink of wisdom. I'm impatient to receive a sign. I move forward with my senses open. Imperfection, it be my crime. In humility, I will listen. We're all swimming to the other side. We are living beneath the great big river. We are washed by the very same rain. We are swimming in the stream together, some in power and some in pain. We can worship this ground we walk on, cherishing the beings that we live beside. Loving spirits will live forever. We're all swimming to the other side. On this journey through thoughts and feelings, finding intuition, my head, my heart. I am gathering the tools together. I'm preparing to do my part. All of those who come before me band together and be my guide. Loving lessons that I will follow. We're all swimming to the other side. We are living beneath the great big dipper. We are washed by the very same rain. We are swimming in the stream together, some in power and some in pain. We can worship this ground we walk on, cherishing the beings that we live beside. Loving spirits will live forever. We're all swimming to the other side. When we get there, we'll discover all of the gifts we've been given to share. Have been with us since life's beginning, and we never noticed they were there. We can balance at the brink of wisdom, never recognizing that we've arrived. Loving spirits will live together. We're all swimming to the other side. We are living beneath the great big dipper. We are washed by the very same rain. We are swimming in the stream together, some in power and some in pain. We can worship this ground we walk on, cherishing the beings that we live beside. Loving spirits will live forever. We're all swimming to the other side. Loving spirits will live forever. We're all swimming to the other side.
So thank you all for your generosity to the food bank. And I'm going to ask now if Beth will lead us in singing We Give Thanks.
Oh, we give thanks for this precious day, for all gathered here and those far away, for the times we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. We're all gathered here and those far away. For this precious day.
Carla?
Beloved faces, beloved voices, invite you just to put your hand on your heart and acknowledge each other. Feel your own heart beating and feel the life of this wonderful, beloved community and the island on which we live and share the food and the beauty and the inspiration. So a few words from Diane Ackerman. The great affair, the love affair with life, is to live as variously as possible, to groom one's curiosity like a high-spirited thoroughbred, climb aboard and gallop over the thick sun-struck hills every day. Where there is no risk, the emotional terrain is flat and unyielding, and despite all its dimensions, valleys, pinnacles, and detours, life will seem to have none of its magnificent geography, only a length. Life began in mystery, and it will end in mystery. But oh, what a savage and beautiful country lies in between. What a savage and beautiful country lies in between. And thanks be to Creator that we get to share it together.
Thank you, Carla.
Alex?
Thank you, Alex.
So thank everyone for coming today. We have a time now for announcements.
Sheila,
Yeah.
do you want to do the final song?
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot.
It's a great way to close. Yes. Here we go.
For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. Oh, for each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. Oh, for each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings, and we are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage, fathers of time, daughters of dust, and the sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy, brothers of love, lovers of life, and the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth, keepers of faith, makers of peace, and the wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers. We are our grandfather's dreamings, and we are the breath of our ancestors. We Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage, fathers of time, daughters of dust, and the sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy, brothers of love, lovers of life, and the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth and keepers of faith. We are makers of peace and the wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers. We are our grandfather's dreamings, and we are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are one.
Thank you. We wouldn't want to skip that one. Lauren's going to unmute everyone now. And if you have an announcement that has to do with the activities of the fellowship, we'd like you to share it now. If you have other information, sorry. Okay. Thank you, Vicki. I saw your this. Anyway, if you have announcements now that have to do with activities of the fellowship, we'd like you to raise your hand and share them. If you have other activities that you'd like to share but aren't necessarily related to the fellowship but might be of general interest, there are two ways you can do that. One is to send the information to our administrator for inclusion in our newsletter. And the second is to join the Vashon UU Facebook page and share information there. So I encourage you to do that as well. So Lauren, I'll let you call on people as you see them.
Okay, so I've asked permission for everybody. Oh, hang on.
Right.
Okay. I'm gonna, Tanya, go ahead.
Okay. Well, today I'm going. Am I getting an echo?
Yeah.
Today I'm putting up a banner on the side of Lewis Hall with the help from Bob Lovett. But we need help from one other person who can be comfortable on a ladder. Do I need to